Hi there, you sexy podcast listener. My name's Henry Zebrowski from the Last Podcast Network.
And wow, it's me, Holden McNeely.
Great. We wish to present unto you Last Podcast Network's Deep Dives, Dunecast, where we'll be talking about all things Dune-centric.
It's like a book club, but you don't even have to read the book.
You don't have to read the book. You just have to sit and listen to two soft-bodied men warble about it. But soft-bodied men is what brought you Dune in the first place. You're welcome.
Some people call me book stupid, but even I think Dune's a pretty fun read.
It's more than a fun read, you dirty slug. It's a lifestyle. Dune's got space witches, sandworms, and a tiny boy king that can see the future. He's only 15 in the books.
They're making a movie about it. He's not 15 in the movie.
From Stilgar Sietch down to the card of the god Emperor Leto II himself, we will plumb and dig in the guts of Frank Herbert's masterpiece Dune and its far superior sequels.
I'm finding some of the sequels difficult to read.
Silence! Join I, Henry Zebrowski, and the useless appendage Holden McNeely as we ride the sandworm in Last Podcast Network's Deep Dives, Dunecast, a limited series from Last Podcast Network and Spotify.
Listen to new episodes of LPN Deep Dives Dunecast only on Spotify starting March 15th.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left.
Rise from your grave.
That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
Marcos, I would like to start doing the show, but it seems that I am too full of chocolate.
Yeah, you got a lot of chocolate on your mouth, man. Did you get into the chocolate drawer?
Yeah, you see, I went into the chocolate drawer that is in the room.
Yeah.
That wonderful little room that's got it's got the closet. You go and you get wet, and it's got the mini pond.
That's called the shower.
Yeah, and then I went into the chocolate chair, and I saw all of it. I was like, freshly made chocolate and very bitter. 95% cacao.
Yeah, that was Dookie, my friend.
Either way, I'm a sweet-toothed little boy for it.
I love it. Welcome to the Last Podcast on the left. I am Ben, hanging out with Dookie Fiend.
Stuck in the pipe at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
You are so talented. Henry Zebrowski is with us. Dookie King, and of course Marcus Parks is with us. How are you, Marcus?
I'm good. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. You look sharp. You were mentioning how spring has sprung in New York, and I can see it on your face and your eyes.
Spring is almost sprung. We've had a nice springy day, but spring is not yet sprung. When spring springs, I'll let you know.
But I think it's safe to say it's springing.
It is springing. Honestly, I was looking at Marcus. Marcus looks fairly devious today. There's something, you have a mischievous look in your eye. You're looking a little bit like a man that employs orphans to pickpocket for him. But I think that it's good. I do feel like our subject has he's like coming from behind your eyes right now.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, our subject today is very villainous.
This is really scary. So some of you might say, what's with the German perfect accent, Henry? Well, that's because today we're going back to my homeland and we're discussing a fella. I'm just going to say, because I am fully assimilated to America, we're talking about a dude named Jack Unterweger.
All right, Kissel. We know that your father tried to erase your German heritage both by burning all of the documents and by teaching you improper pronunciation of German words.
I can tell you're not really a descendant of Germans because you don't burn documents, you shred documents. And that's what we did in 2000 after my Opa died.
So
7 hours of just hearing cats dying, but in reality, it's documents dying that hold serious truths.
No, it's secrets going to sleep. Sometimes secrets need to go to a bed.
Anyway, let's talk about Jack Unterweger. Unterweger.
Johann Jack Unterweger was an Austrian serial killer who strangled and killed 11 women, primarily sex workers, in both Europe and Los Angeles. His first kill occurred in 1974, but after his release for that murder in 1990, Unterweger committed a further 10 murders in less than a year.
He goes kill crazy. This is the story of, it's international serial killing, which I think is one of the first time we've covered this, except for Carl Panzram, who was the closest. This guy is we're going to talk about this a little bit more in depth. Marcus and I have started to apply certain Batman rogue gallery qualities to certain serial killers, like Haddon Clark. When we covered Haddon Clark, we were like,
the Riddler.
He's not the no. He's class C.
Yeah.
He is a villain that gets beat up in the first 15 minutes of the story that then gives the location of the Riddler to Batman. It's Mr. Zsasz.
Yeah, he's Mr. Zsasz. For example, like Jeffrey Dahmer, that's Mr. Freeze.
That's Mr. Freeze. That's class A.
Yeah, top tier.
Ted Bundy, we'd probably close to calling him the Joker. Honestly, I'd probably put him close to that. John Wayne Gacy, the Penguin, class A, top levels. But Jack Unterweger is another dude that does not get a lot of attention, but this motherfucker is another one of, it's like, he's a supervillain. Like this guy is a Batman style villain that traveled the world bringing mayhem and his own personal style of conmanship to a bunch of different communities.
And it's very rare that a serial killer does this. I mean, as we know, serial killers usually kill in a place where they're comfortable. And Jack Unterweger went everywhere and did fucking everything. Like he was a highly dangerous human being.
I know that story of the Des Moines lazy boy killer. He would bring his lazy boy everywhere, sit down and shoot people.
I just aim better when my butt's level.
Absolutely.
Now, while one might ask why a convicted murderer was released after just 15 years, that question is precisely what makes Jack Unterweger interesting. See, in Austria, before it was known that Jack Unterweger was a bona fide serial killer, he was a bona fide true crime celebrity. See, while Jack was in prison for his first murder, he began writing. And 5 years before he was released, Jack had written an autobiographical best-selling novel called Fegefeuer, or in English, Purgatory. And so when Unterweger was up for parole, public opinion helped set him free.
I didn't realize you jerk off so much with somebody on a bunk beneath you in purgatory.
I feel like that would be my main source of purgatory. You know what I mean?
It's that or like waiting, but you're waiting for the game to download the next level and then like a buffering thing. It is just that always sitting with a PlayStation controller in your hands, just like watching the circle go.
Fate worse than death.
But this guy was a famous quote unquote rehabbed criminal. He was one of these guys, like we'll cover it in depth, but he kind of came, like I'm trying to figure out like what's the proper American analogy. Like he was he's an example of like people can get better while in jail. But the question is
when Charlie Sheen went through all of it and he was like, he's getting better, but then he took tiger blood and then he went crazier.
Maybe
something like that. Because at one point, Charlie Sheen went to Passage of Malibu's and got his butt fluffed a little bit or something like that, and then got better.
But he kind of wrote himself out of prison. Like he kind of just found a way to become. He's like, if I'm just famous enough, someone will let me go.
Okay.
Even while he was doing talk shows about the redemptive powers of creativity, and even while he was writing piece after piece concerning the seedy underbelly of the sex work industries in multiple countries, he was actually committing the same murders that he was writing and talking about.
Wow.
That's called conservation of content, where you just shoot one show and you turn it to 3 different pieces of media.
Yeah.
See, Jack Unterweger was extraordinarily charismatic, which made him the most dangerous type of psychopath. He was so charismatic, even through the TV screen, that people would forget about his previous crimes almost immediately when he spoke, and the public became solely focused on Jack Unterweger the person and not Jack Unterweger the brutal murderer.
That is unbelievable television talent. I don't know if this man needs to be in prison. I think this man needs a show.
Well, yeah, it's like no one wants to talk about the serial murderers of Ina Garten, but when she did her time in jail, and she got through that loophole that said there's no way that she could have been there the night that whole busload of children went into the cavern because she was too busy making a roast chicken for Jeffrey. But we now know that all of those crimes were real, but I think that her cooking managed to make her a step above some petty criminal.
Also, Mr. Ira Glass, why do you talk so low? Oh, is it because you're used to talking in closets as you watch people sleep before you slash their throats? Is that why, Mr. Glass?
Yeah.
Another factor as to why Unterweger flew under the radar is because Austria actually had very little experience with serial killers outside of what seems like an inordinate number of Black Widows and Angels of Death. They had a whole lot of those.
Well, isn't that incredible how you have nothing if you refuse to acknowledge it?
And both come from a weird sense of morality, right? Because Black Widows is a lot of times is pragmatic killings or slash revenge killings, and then Angel of Mercy killings slash Angel of Death killings. Or would they view sometimes it's money, but a lot of times it's some weird godlike idea that doctors have. So, but Austria has never gotten a straight up, full on American style serial killer before, and then they just got one popped up and they weren't ready.
Also, just to clarify, some Black Widow murders are because some people are crazy and some people need to have forgiveness on their deathbed, like how my grandfather forgave my grandmother.
What, for selling them out to the Americans?
No, my grandfather, my American grandfather, forgave my grandmother for being so mean to him while he was dying. It was his last words.
That's incredibly sweet.
It's horrible. He lived a horrible life.
It's very sad.
I love my grandmother, though. She was very funny.
Yeah. Yeah, like Austria, they had never had a sexual sadist serial killer of the kind that's usually confined to like America, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Now, concerning violent sexual crime committed by men against women they don't know, there might be a reason why Austria has comparatively very little. Now, as every long-time listener of the show knows, or as anyone who has even a passing interest in serial killers knows, the number one victim in serial killing has always been the sex worker. And Jack Unterweger killed sex workers almost exclusively. Only one of his victims wasn't a sex worker. But as opposed to America, sex work is not only decriminalized in Unterweger's native Austria, but it is completely legal and has been for decades. Woo! There, a sex worker has been able to legally sue a client for non-payment since 2012.
No shit.
They've been taxpayers since 1986.
Why
There you go.
aren't we just taxing them? We should tax the boobies.
I do want to see the when the IRS receives all of the money from the sex workers just dripping in bags of cum. I'm making a joke, but you can imagine all of the sticky dollars be like, oh, this is the good money.
They already hide all of the Epstein money and all the other barrels and barrels of money that is sticky with cum from other crimes.
Pimping, however, is illegal because it encourages exploitation. So sex workers in Austria are considered independent contractors. And it's not a perfect system by any means. Exploitation still occurs to this day, but even the women working the streets of Vienna are still registered with the government.
And it provides safety for everyone. Well, it does. It is hard because it does. Then you do get taxed, which sucks. I mean, honestly, it sucks because you work really hard, and then all of a sudden I got to give what? I got to give what percentage to who?
Okay, it's not that time. You're on the wrong show.
But you know what I mean? I can see how, but there's an accountability level. There's somebody saying like, where's Sheila?
Yes.
People don't just disappear like they do here in America. And, as a result, violence against sex workers in Austria is exceedingly rare, as opposed to, say, America and Canada, where the criminalization of sex work is a direct cause of violence against sex workers.
Yep.
In other words, Jack Unterweger was an extreme outlier in his home country, and it was difficult for a lot of Austrians to admit that they'd been completely wrong about his rehabilitation once sex workers started dying violent deaths.
Oh, because then they're like, "Oof, I'm sorry, you've got a little bit of Stunkelmeyer on my nose."
Yeah, that's a
What's
pretty big
embarrassing?
Stinkelmeyer right there, my friend.
See, right here, you see how much. Oh, this is this pile of Stunkelmeyer right here sitting upon my mustache.
Oh, I can't. Honestly, I cannot imagine an Austrian backtracking or ever apologizing. I just don't even know if they can as a people.
It was after World War I they started.
Yeah. After World War II, they had a bit to be contrite about.
But even then,
patrician.
they kind of skated.
Hey, man, they gave us Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's all we need.
It's equal now. Everything's done. The crimes of the Holocaust have been fixed.
Very good, Henry.
But concerning murderers turned writers turned murderers like Jack Unterweger, something very similar to this case actually happened in the United States almost a decade prior in 1981 with convicted criminal Jack Abbott and author Norman Mailer. See, Norman Mailer had just written the true crime classic The Executioner's Song about the execution of murderer Gary Gilmore. He'd done it with Gilmore's cooperation, but Jack Abbott, after reading the book, wrote Mailer a letter saying that everything Gary Gilmore said was a load of hogwash.
It's hogwash!
And you know, in prison, their favorite term is hogwash, because hogwash is when they all get together and clean the fattest dude on the block.
Oh, I love being the fattest dude on the block. Hey, boys, if it's Monday, it's hogwash.
So, after a brief correspondence, Mailer helped Abbott publish his memoir, In the Belly of the Beast, and Mailer subsequently endorsed Abbott's parole. As far as Abbott's previous crimes went, he'd been serving a sentence for forgery when he stabbed another inmate to death, and he had subsequently escaped and committed a bank robbery.
Is it weird to say, in my mind, because, you know, Jack Unterweger originally went to jail for a brutal sexual murder, which we're going to cover, but this one doesn't seem as bad. I feel like this is the type of crime that you could get rehabilitated for, because sometimes what I've heard from all of our prison shows, if you end up stabbing somebody in prison, a lot of it's just because you kind of like had to, or you'd get stabbed.
Well, I've heard there's a lot of controversy and conflict in jail, although this man seems to be in prison for something just slightly worse than plagiarism. And then he stabs somebody, which is the problem.
Well, that's the thing, is that prison officials maintained that Jack Abbott was a dangerous psychotic who should not be released under any circumstances.
I take it back.
I totally get what you're saying. Shit happens in jail. But this guy, prison officials talk to him, psychiatrists talk to him, and said this man should not be released under any circumstances whatsoever. He's awful. He's dangerous.
A picture of Jack Abbott, he looks very scary. I will say that. And you know, we're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, because if you did, you'd be like, oh, Henry, are you a model? You know how many times I have to deal with that?
I know.
But Jack Abbott was very, he's gnarly looking. And so I could see him being, he had kind of one of those permanent scowls. Like, he looked like a criminal from the Ren and Stimpy cartoons. Like, he looked like, what's his name?
Ren?
Stimpy.
No!
Mr. Toastman?
No!
But since Norman Mailer was such a famous fancy pants writer, the parole board listened to him instead, and Jack Abbott was released. Within 6 weeks, Jack Abbott was back in prison on a murder charge.
Wait, so Norman Mailer basically helped kill a person?
Yeah. Well, okay, let me tell you the story, and then you can judge for yourself. Jack Abbott had been at a small cafe in Manhattan called Benny Bon with a couple of intellectuals from Mailer's scene.
He was like, you know what happens when you're in the middle of a beef in jail, right? And the guy's shitting, right? So that's how you fucking shank his ass, right? Because he's got his pants around his fucking ankles.
Yes,
and he's got shit coming out of his ass, right? So you go up and the main thing is you want to fucking stab him right above the shit bags, right? Because of his blood could dip down into the fucking shit bags, right?
Yeah, I've been told by Norman that this is one of his more articulate friends. Yes, very smart. Yes, indeed.
Well, it was at this Manhattan cafe that Jack Abbott got into an argument with the waiter over their employees-only bathroom.
It is an infuriating position, I understand. You see a bathroom right there, you gotta pee. And he's like, it's employees only. And the only thing that makes it an employees only bathroom is that sign. And so you know that
it's a powerful sign.
Of course.
It's an insurance thing, because what it is that the bathroom was in this specific situation, the bathroom was on the other side of the kitchen, and customers can't be in the kitchen because of insurance purposes. So the waiter was trying to explain this to him, because Jack was like, why can't I go to the fucking bathroom? He's like, no, it's an insurance thing.
I'm still fighting for the liberty of bathrooms everywhere.
I get it. It's difficult to find. The hardest thing in the world to find in New York City, especially right now, is a fucking bathroom in Manhattan. It's impossible.
These are great grapes, guys. One of the people that was speaking to this ex-con was Howard Schultz, actually, from Starbucks. And he said, I'm going to create bathrooms that will be surrounded by coffee shops. People will come in to take a shit, but I will force them to buy my crappy coffee.
Save this for the road, Kissel.
This is good. Isn't Starbucks just a bathroom surrounded by a coffee shop? Why don't any gas pumps work? I have so many different fun bits coming for you guys.
Well, after much shouting, the waiter, who was extremely accommodating for being a server in New York City, he compromised and led Abbott out to the alley where Abbott could urinate.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was actually a big shit.
Well, there in the alley, Abbott very quickly stabbed the waiter to death.
Man, it's already hard being a waiter in Midtown Manhattan. It's so hard to be a fine dining waiter in the middle of that work. Can you imagine then also just getting fucking stabbed to death in the piss alley? Because you also use that as your piss alley.
Oh, then he falls in the piss that he just got. Oh, my goodness, bad.
But when Norman Mailer was asked about his role in releasing a dangerous individual out into the streets simply because he was impressed with his writing skills, Mailer infamously said, "Culture is worth a little risk."
What?
I don't know if that's the right response, Norman. I work for your PR company. Maybe just say the words, "I'm sorry."
I honestly, in my culture victories in Civ 6, you do have to kill people. But that's different because I'm running a civilization.
And it's a video game. Yeah.
Well, Mailer did, however, later amend that. He said that his involvement with Jack Abbott was another episode in his life in which he had nothing to cheer about or take pride in. But despite these failures, there are examples of advocacy working. French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre and Pablo Picasso went to bat for writer Jean Genet when he was faced with a life sentence following multiple arrests, and Genet never got in trouble with the law again.
Well, he also went to jail for, sodomy, not like a real crime. It was like one of those things where they jailed him for being gay. But if you read Our Lady of the Flowers, it is very interesting. It's a lot of poop.
Okay.
There was also Scottish author and former gangster Jimmy Boyle, who was actually convicted of killing a guy, yet still became a successful and law-abiding novelist afterward. There are, however, differences between these guys and Jack Abbott and Jack Unterweger. See, Jean Genet was mostly a petty criminal, and as Henry said, half of his convictions were bullshit sodomy charges. And while Jimmy Boyle was certainly a violent gang member in his past, there's a strong possibility that he was innocent of the murder, and the murder he was convicted of involved another gangland figure. He was just a fucking guy in a gang. That can be rehabilitated, of course.
Because we all believe here, we believe in rehabilitation, and I think that people are obviously over-prisoned and over-punished as it is, and it doesn't help. But it is hard. I'd love to have people write in, sidestorieslpotl@gmail.com, like people that work with this type of crime, and asking about if someone does intense sexual violence, how do you rehabilitate that person? Like, what do you do with someone
Can you
who is
rehabilitate that person, or do you just lock them in a fucking room until they die?
My little insight, I did last Thanksgiving on Abe Lincoln's Top Hat. I did a special speaking with a therapist who works with non-offending sexual predators.
No, we remember. And it was
she was
a perfect
pedophiles,
time.
but that is the main crux of the conversation is can rehabilitation happen? She says yes.
Well, by contrast, Jack Abbott's murders were impulsive, anger-fueled, and animalistic. Obviously a dangerous human being. He stabbed a guy to death because he wouldn't let him use the fucking bathroom.
Yeah.
And Jack Unterweger's first murder conviction was an absolutely brutal, prolonged, sexually driven, premeditated affair involving a young woman. And there was a direct witness to the fucking crime. In other words, while we're, of course, all for rehabilitation, there's certainly a middle ground to find between putting someone away for life on a drug charge and freeing a psychopath because he turns a good phrase.
Yeah, and they also give them, in Austrian prisons, they have, fireplaces and...
Yeah, it's really nice.
They have, the foosball tables. They have rumpus rooms. I want to say there is a rumpus room.
I think that they might have a rumpus room. I mean, to be fair, how bad did he have to piss? And I know we have to move on from that, but I'm just thinking about the last time I was driving. You have to piss so bad, and if there was the option where it's like you can kill this person and immediately feel better, I don't know.
I have actually been asking myself the question today, would I be as annoyed about Varg Vikernes only doing 15 years in prison if Varg Vikernes didn't annoy me so much personally?
Interesting. I don't know. I also wonder whether or not the thing is that if I was going to kill one member of society to piss, I would never want to kill a waiter or a waitress because of how hard they work. If it was like a congressman, I feel like that is a much more like that. Just let me choose the victim.
Well, thank God for Howard Schultz. That's all I'm going to say. Saving lives with bathrooms all over the place.
But before we get into the story, let's acknowledge our one source for today, because unfortunately, most of the books about Jack Unterweger are written in German. Our book is Entering Haiti.
Gross language.
We just can't read it.
I know.
Our book is Entering Hades by John Leake, which it's a somewhat erratic and incomplete in its telling of the tale, but it still has plenty of good information.
If anybody has a translated version of, I'm looking for this because I couldn't find it anywhere. I was looking for Jack Unterweger's Purgatory. I was looking for it. If you got it, please send it to me. sidestorieslpotl@gmail.com.
Also, if it just slowly reverts back to Bigfoot erotica, we're going to know you're making it up.
Now, the thing about Jack Unterweger's childhood to remember is that it is still, to this day, grossly misrepresented in most of the media that covers his life story. See, as we said in the Ted Bundy chapter in the last book on the left, available online and wherever fine books are sold.
Nice fucking plug.
Thank you. True crime journalism often depends on the most untrustworthy person in the room for the narrative. It depends on the killer itself. Now, there are reasons for this. Partly, it's because when it comes to serial murder, the only living witness is 99 times out of 100 the murderer themselves. Even the fucking Ted Bundy book was called The Only Living Witness. The other part, however, is that everyone, especially a journalist, loves a good, clean narrative.
A narrative that tracks, a narrative that makes sense to their mind, even if whether or not it is real or not. Sometimes you want to look at a story and you want to tell a specific story about somebody because that's how you make it make sense to you, and then you think that's how you make it that's how it makes sense to the public. But guess what? Sometimes the truth, it's stranger than fiction.
Whoa!
And since serial killers are almost always psychopaths, they like to create a sympathetic backstory to help excuse their crimes and deflect blame away from themselves.
Right.
And that usually results in a pretty straightforward narrative that's irresistible to a lazy writer. Concerning Jack Unterweger, the picture he painted of his childhood in both his books and in interviews was barely true. According to him, his mother was a petty thief who abandoned him at a young age to an alcoholic, abusive grandfather in the early 50s.
Because there's something also about an abusive Austrian grandfather.
I know, because you can just see him showing up on his front door like the kid from the movie Up with the big lollipop, just being like, "Are you going to take care of me now?" And it's cute.
And he just
later
beats the fuck out of him, starts molesting him and all that fucking shit.
No,
It's Joseph Fritzl.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Never mind. I was
Crooked
thinking more like
mustache.
Bavaria, like fun pretzels and stuff.
No, it's like a guy who spends all day whittling those, like, you know how in every Santa Claus movies, the original Santa Claus always like whittles like fishermen on a log, and you're supposed to be like, thanks, like
This
when
is
you get
very
this
nice.
thing.
Yeah.
But like, it's a guy who spends all this time whittling those little like old Santa Claus toys, and then just beating the fuck out of you with them.
Oh, that's scary.
Well, some accounts, including Jack's obituary in the Los Angeles Times, went even further and said that Jack Unterweger was the son of an Austrian streetwalker and an American soldier, and that he'd been raised among sex workers in a remote Austrian village.
Ooh, like Richard Pryor.
Yeah, and Jack and James Brown.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, a complete and total fallacy. And according to Jack's own biography, he grew up in an oppressive and cramped cottage in the Alpine countryside, surrounded by seedy, violent individuals that seem almost cliche. This is an excerpt from his book describing his childhood environment.
My eyes burnt from the smoky air in the low little room. Women prattled, men played cards. I was the house and cart fool, a slave, educated to be a fraud's accomplice. I sat on my uncle's lap and betrayed his cards to Grandpa. I was the ace in his slave. His face were my teacher.
Fists, not
his
face.
His
Fists.
face.
Fists.
His fists were my teacher, and I was a good student. Where I accepted these fists as lessons.
Oh gosh. Oh my. Oh yeah. Hey Jack, got some more chocolate for you. You just want to go into the kitchen near the wet.
Very fresh. Just look at all of these different ribbons.
Yep.
Different styles, levels of cacao.
That schnitzel shit.
To be clear, he is Austrian, not French.
No, he's Austrian. That's Austrian.
That's Austrian.
But I do like this idea that he was a like the weird boy accomplice into a hut filled with criminal people.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well, he further claimed that the only kind person in his life was his Aunt Anna, who also happened to be a sex worker. And this, of course, introduces yet another cliche, the so-called hooker with the heart of gold.
Most of them at least got a heart of bronze, though. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, or at least a heart full of a lot of carcinogens.
But with Aunt Anna, Unterweger included a twist. According to him, Aunt Anna was later murdered by a customer. And Jack often used that story to gain the trust of both cops and sex workers themselves.
Oh, what an incredible storybook beginning. That's exactly what you think a serial killer would come from.
Yeah. But when people began looking deeper into Unterweger's past after they finally accepted that he'd killed 11 women, they found that while his stories had nuggets of truth, like the best lies always do, most of his story was false. Now, Jack had been born into post-World War II Austria in 1950. This was back when the country was divided between American, British, French, and Soviet Union control. And his father probably was an American soldier who'd left his Fraulein in Europe when his tour of duty was up.
That was back in the day when you could just leave a breadcrumb series of children throughout Europe and everybody called you a hero.
Absolutely.
But Jack's beloved Aunt Anna Unterweger, the quote-unquote only kind person in his life, she was not a sex worker, and in fact, was not even related to him. She was simply a murder victim who shared Jack's last name, and the name Anna Unterweger was lifted from a newspaper article to give Jack's life a little more color and a little more tragedy.
Jack Unterweger, to me, is very similar because Ted Bundy also immediately kind of clouded over his childhood and he wrote all of these things. But his was the opposite, right? Where he was like, because Ted Bundy maintained his innocence forever and he wanted everything to be sunny and perfect because he was that type of narcissist that thrived and loved this idea of creating an invincible front that was this kind of perfect guy that everybody loved and everybody wanted a piece of. And you know, people couldn't get enough of Ted, right? And he wanted you to feel comfortable with him, even though he was this roiling, awful fucking super predator underneath. Where Jack Unterweger, he actually got to taste it. He got to taste what it was like to be one of those everybody loves you, everybody wants a piece of you types. And this is kind of key to it because Jack Unterweger, the fact that he just like takes a name from a newspaper and he spins it into a story, Jack Unterweger is fucking paper thin as a person. Yeah. There is no Jack Unterweger. Anything you hear about him is a complete projection and a story that he's spinning, and it's going to spin him all the way back to Los Angeles and then back to Austria.
It sounds like one of those collages that 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old girls in the mid-90s created with the band NSYNC, where they would put their name next to like all of the big pictures of the people in the band NSYNC and be like JC, and then they would take a heart out from a tiger beat, and then they would find their name Stephanie in a magazine, and they would put that on there. And in theory, it's really, really scary. But that seems like what he did with his life.
If you look at my childhood journals, it's just Mr. and Mrs. Winona Zabrowski. Mrs. Winona Zabrowski.
Yeah, you wanted to be the brown beaver?
Well, concerning the cruel, abusive, alcoholic grandfather, Jack's Aunt Charlotte had a much different story to tell about the man that the locals affectionately called Korbler.
Oh.
According to her, Jack Unterweger only lived with her and Korbler for 4 years, and Jack was in fact just a spoiled brat that they all called Hansi.
Oh, you've gone to breakfast again, and soup wasn't hot enough for me. Oh, I'm going to go outside and play with my wooden hoop. I hate you, Cobbler. I hate you, Aunt Charlotte.
So mad at this damn kid.
Oh, my bow has come untied. What about my bonnet? How will I go to school without my school bonnet?
Hold on a second. I'm about to make you some more chocolate to shut you up.
Well, Korbler was just his nickname. His real name, he was a kindly old Austrian man named Ferdinand, who made money by weaving baskets out of hazelnut branches.
Oh, quaint.
That's why they called him Korbler, because Korbler means basket weaver.
It does sound quaint.
So cute.
It sounds quaint until he gets a massive order because it's Easter Sunday and everyone wants the little basket for their Easter eggs, and his bloody hands are just desperately trying to make baskets after basket after basket.
And then everybody-
It also could be a nightmare job.
He immediately organizes a line of people, and they all have patches on that are little baskets, and he's got a big sign that says, "Work shall set you free," behind him, and they're all weaving baskets, and he's like, "Do not call me Herr Kobler for nothing. I am the basket weaver."
And if you pay people a living wage and they're there with their own compliance, then that's just being a CEO.
Ferdinand actually treated Jack Unterweger like a little prince. He would spoil him constantly. He made him handmade toys to try and make the little fucker happy.
I hate these, Uncle Cobbler. I hate the toads sitting on the log with the fishing rods. They are not real.
That is all we got, kid.
I hate the little tricycles. I cannot even get onto this made bit of wood.
No, I mean, there really was no electricity in the cottage, but nobody in their entire valley, which, by the way, the valley was adorably called Vimitz Valley. Nobody had electricity. This was the early 50s. Half of Europe hadn't been hooked up to electricity yet, and the other half had their shit knocked out by World War II.
This is where white people like come out of the crags. This is like true. This is the delta of white people.
Yeah, it really is. No, this is just a cottage in the Alps.
Oh yes, and when I think of the Delta blues, all the great music that was created in the American Delta, I feel the same way about Austria with their great cling clang songs.
Dude, this is the polka delta. This is when you're down there. This is where the polka waters run deep.
But when it came to Jack's backstory, he knew that being raised in an idyllic cottage by a basket weaver named Ferdinand, who made him handmade toys, that wasn't going to elicit a lot of sympathy from the general public. So, as far as the public was concerned, Jack Unterweger was raised in a den of sin by a drunken monster, and Jack therefore presented himself as a person who had no choice but to enter a life of crime.
My parents didn't pay attention to me, which led me, I had no choice but to enter into a life of laughter.
And yes, absolutely. I think your parents paid way too much attention to you.
No.
To be fair.
One parent
suckle.
paid too much attention, the other parent didn't pay enough.
You need the both.
Oh my God, you are complaining. The amount of people who are just looking at their
couldn't suckle.
pictures of their dead parents
I
right
couldn't
now.
suckle, and that will haunt me forever. And now I'll be suckling till the day I die to make up for it.
That was your fault you couldn't suckle. It was.
What are you?
I'm sorry, Henry. You got to take responsibility.
What are you?
You got
Pull myself- you
The
told
one
me-
job a baby has is to suckle, and you didn't do it.
You mean to tell me I need to pull myself up by my suckling bootstraps and get me suckling?
by your little baby booties.
See, Jack Unterweger, despite his later self-created image of a suave intellectual on the talk show circuit, he started out as a violent criminal from the age of 16 when he got his first conviction for the sexual assault of a sex worker. Between 1966 and 1974, Unterweger was convicted 16 times for everything from the aforementioned sexual assault to theft to pimping. He later wrote in his book that he, quote, wielded his steel rod among the prostitutes of Hamburg, Munich, and Marseille, and that he conquered his enemies through an inner hatred.
Which seems to me like a seed of the truth that he then threw in. Because the one thing that especially somebody like him, a true villain, he loves mixing the two. I think he really likes throwing a little bit of like something that's real so you can see that he's not fucking around and they actually can still kill you, but he wants you, mostly he wants you to get the message, but I'm harmless now, I'm harmless. But he's got this other side where he just wants you to also have this little tiny thought knowing that like, I also can kill again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole thing of admitting to the smaller crime so you can get away with the really fucking big crime.
Yeah.
And all in all, between the ages of 16 and 25, Jack Unterweger spent a total of 12 months as a free man and was constantly in and out of prison for a variety of crimes, both petty and serious. Then, in 1973, Jack Unterweger committed his first murder. Now, details are a little murky on this one because Jack was never convicted nor even charged for this murder. But
he didn't wear his GoPro?
Not yet.
But it is highly likely that he was the culprit. According to a young woman who was a witness to the crime, Jack Unterweger, presumably while pimping, beat a sex worker named Maria Horvath in Salzburg, Austria, until she was unconscious. Now, the witness assumed that Jack had killed the girl after he punched her in the throat and she passed out. But from Jack's actions, it seemed as if he was all too aware that she was still alive, and he decided at this point to begin his serial killing career.
Or the opportunity presented itself. How many times do we see that, right?
Well, of course. No, that's what I mean.
Yeah, like Arthur Shawcross, that kind of shit, where the first time he put himself in the position of like, I don't want to pay money to this sex worker. Same thing with Yorkshire Ripper. It's very interesting to always see how like they set up the scenario to make it so I had to kill.
Right.
Yes.
But of course they did not.
You're right.
Just to clarify, they did not.
You're right.
Thank you.
Well, as Maria Horvath lay unconscious and barely alive, Unterweger bound her wrist with an expensive necktie with black and silver checkered stripes and wrapped a bandage from a first aid kit around her head 9 times, giving her a mummy-like appearance. He also removed her pants and wrapped her legs tightly at the ankles with her own pantyhose. He then drove to the nearby lake and pulled right up to the edge, where he threw her in to drown.
Think about the amount of work that went into that. Honestly, if it was a crime of passion, he would have beat her to death. Yeah. Like, to not mince any words, he would have just like hit her a couple times and been like, oh, fuck, what did I do? But this is a full-on premeditated process killer. That's what we're going to discover with him, is that he's a full-on process killer. He does not want the body.
He's the definition of the process killer. Maria Horvath's body was found by a fisherman on the shoreline days later, but in a move that will become part of Jack Unterweger's signature, he had taken none of her jewelry and left the gold signet ring on her finger untouched. Now, no one came close to Jack Unterweger as a suspect for this crime because the witness, afraid of what Jack might do to her, she didn't come forward until after he was arrested for the 10 murders in the 90s. And so, Jack continued life as a criminal, working as a disc jockey or a waiter by day, and he terrorized Salzburg as a robber, car thief, burglar, and rapist by night.
Welcome to 99.55 KKKKKILLL Coming up next is Friday. It's time to get the lead out like I did last night on a series of women. Am I confessing to crimes this morning?
Beating things with a pipe in the studio. He started this shit early.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. Some serial killers don't start the double life thing for a while.
Every DJ has a double life.
Don't even ask about ours, because my other life is just me sitting in my underwear at home. But he had a specific love of the double life.
He did.
There's certain killers that are like that, like Ted Bundy. He comes up for me a lot because I think Jack Unterweger's Ted Bundy light. Like he is like he steps below Ted Bundy, but it's kind of the same wolf because they both like attention, but they both are actual fucking super predators, like uncontrollable animals, and so. Ted Bundy kind of like he peppered it immediately growing up, having like his put together Republican life mixed with all of the weird shit he started, like all the peeping toms and the burglaries and the rapes that he was doing leading up to his first murder. Same thing here.
Well, he was just trying to build a really good political career.
But Jack Unterweger, it's weird. He immediately got a taste for it. Like he liked having the two.
He really did. And the difference between Ted Bundy and Jack Unterweger is that, Ted Bundy, we were having this conversation yesterday about how Ted Bundy like very much could have gone into a career in politics, perhaps eventually, or a career in law, had he not constantly been consumed by the urge to murder.
Yeah.
And it was always the murder that derailed him every time. Jack Unterweger went to prison for 15 years where he was allowed to blossom as a writer because murder was not constantly on his mind. He had no choice but to become a writer. So when he came out, he had this whole life all set up for him, but that was a whole new game. The whole new game was that he liked to say, oh yes, I was a murderer. I was horrible in my past, but I'm no longer a murderer anymore. But he's still murdering. He's still murdering a lot of people all at the same time. So it's this very complicated game that he was playing. And of course, he eventually got caught. Relatively quickly. If he was in the United States, he would have been caught like 5 years later.
But
in Austria, it didn't take that long.
As a matter of
they actually investigate the murders of sex workers in Austria.
Yes,
but so he went. That's what makes him not full Class A.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm no longer a murderer, society. I'm something much worse. I'm a fiction writer.
Not another
You must read every book that I write.
Oh, God, I can barely get through Dune. I can barely get through Dune again.
Well, in the years 1973 and 1974, multiple women in various towns made complaints on Jack Unterweger, including one teenage girl who said he picked her up, beat her, tied her hands with her own stockings, and violated her with a steel rod while he masturbated. Now, Jack was immediately arrested for this particular crime, but in a true psychopathic move, he was able to smuggle a large dose of prescription painkillers into his cell for the purposes of a fake suicide attempt.
Interesting.
His plan worked, and instead of facing a charge for this horrific crime, he was placed in a psychiatric clinic in Salzburg and was soon released. Did no time whatsoever.
He just understood how to game the system. He just immediately had a second nature understanding of what do I need to do to squiggle my way out of this shit.
He just did what fainting goats do. He's just like, what if I fall asleep for 20 hours? It worked.
Yeah. Just a few months later, Jack would commit the murder that sent him to prison. And of course, prison was where Jack would eventually find fame. But what's important to know about Jack is that it's not like he learned how to become charismatic while he was in prison. Even before his first long stretch, he already knew how to use his charisma to control people. And that's exactly what he did with his girlfriend Barbara back in 1974.
He sort of looked like he looks like a European actor. Like, he's got a big forehead. He's got those kind of piercing eyes. There's something, I mean, before he had...
You're going to put a lot of your bias in, by the way, when you describe a European actor.
Yeah,
actually,
looks
no,
like he's about to steal my job.
And he was also 5'6". He was just 5'6".
Yeah,
he
he's
did
a
have
guy.
an actor's body. Big head, little body.
He had one of those, but people fucking love this guy. They just thought that he was the funnest guy. It's very strange because it really was. No one saw the real him until he killed you.
Yeah.
Sure, that's scary stuff.
Now, Barbara said that on December 11th, 1974, Jack used her to lure an 18-year-old girl named Margaret Schaefer into the backseat of his car under the vague auspice of having a good time. Now, the account given by Barbara of this night in Entering Hades is a little vague when it comes to motivation for the murder, but it seems like at one point, Barbara let something slip about Jack's criminal activities to Margaret. See, at one point during the hangout, Jack pulled over the car and asked Barbara if there was anything else she wanted to tell Margaret.
Ooh.
When Barbara said no, Jack reached into the back seat and jerked Margaret to the front by her shirt.
You know what it is, too? Is it immediate? You can see where the rage first spikes, which is on a direct attack. He views it as an attack on his persona.
Yeah.
And anybody that tries to find any sort of hole in his persona, like there's something about, like that's like fucking narcissist, the sadistic narcissist. That's like 101, where
Right.
if you come for the thing that's supposed to be like this thin veneer that makes us friends and makes me friendly to you, the second you even try to stick your finger into the curtain, you're gonna get fucking slapped.
Yeah, let me just try to stick my finger into your curtain really quick.
I
found a bunch of chocolate. It reminds me, interestingly, of the Donald Trump roast, where the only thing you could not make fun of was the amount of money that he had or not had.
Yeah.
But you could make fun of him fucking his own daughter.
Yeah, he was
He
down with
had
that.
no problem with it. But as soon as you talk about the money, don't fuck with my money.
Yeah.
But you can mention how I want to bang my daughter.
Save that sentence, Travis. Just pull that one little chunk.
It's Donald, not me.
Now, Margaret was understandably shocked when Jack pulled her to the front, but Jack told her that nothing would happen if she didn't resist. And either she believed him or she just fucking froze. And it's, that happens to the best of us. There's just nothing to be ashamed about freezing. That happens to so many people in these scenarios.
Well, you're also taught in America, we're taught to go along with it. That's what, to be honest, that's every cop I've ever spoken to. Anybody talks to me about like these kind of things where, especially being robbed while you work in a store, you just give them the money. You just do the thing. If you're getting mugged, you just give them money and you try to end it.
Yeah, and it's not like here where serial murder is a very real thing that people have been living with for decades upon decades. Serial murder was not a thing And violence against women is not anywhere near as bad in Austria as it is here.
I've always said that about Austria, especially just right around during World War II and post. And serial killing's not a thing.
They got it out of their system. They just had their government do it, and it really helped everybody get it out.
I see.
Well, because she went along with it, Unterweger was able to tie her hands behind her back using the belt from his girlfriend Barbara's coat. After Margaret was restrained, Jack put her in the back floorboard and rifled through her purse, finding $12 and the key to her apartment. They then drove to Margaret's place, where Barbara went inside and took another $40 as well as some of Margaret's clothes. All three of them then drove on the main road out of town headed south, and when they stopped for gas, Jack told Barbara that it was time to make her new friend disappear. Amazingly, though, it was Barbara who directed Jack to a secluded spot in the woods where he could commit the murder. She was fucking... she was in that situation where she is both under someone's control and absolutely terrified of them at the same time.
You are, quote unquote, in love with this type of person, right? He is a sadistic narcissist. You're in love with him. He's already done this thing where...
malignant narcissist. That's more that, yeah.
He talks to you, and he shows you two sides at all times, where he's this friendly, loving, vivacious dude. That's the guy you love. That's the guy you met, right?
Yeah.
Slowly but surely, because he, quote unquote, trusts you. That's what he tells you. He trusts you. He starts to tell you about the other shit that he does. But what he's doing is making you an accomplice, because he knows that you're stuck here with him. So now you're sitting and talking to him, and he's shown you the two sides. You're the only person in his little world that knows the two sides. Everybody else just knows fun, fancy, free Jack, who might have gotten in some trouble, but everyone's like, oh, he's this good-looking rogue type. But he's
a little short.
He's a little short. Hey, he's a fun guy. But you have to have a lot of personality if you're short.
I know.
And so she's talking with him. You're doing stuff. So she kind of has an inkling. Oh, he does mean it when he says, I can hurt people and we need to go hurt this person. So you help instead of being the next on the chopping block. And it's just normal. That's very normal. And it's a part of the abuse cycle.
He's like that green fuzzy He-Man evil character that you hit the button and it changes his face. Remember that one?
Yes.
The green fuzzy He-Man character?
You're putting two of them together, though. You're talking about, was it Many Faces or was that Man at Arms? I think that was Man at Arms.
Oh, Man at Arms had the multiple
the fuzzy
arms.
one was the fuzzy one was the skunk guy.
Yes, Skunk Man.
They invented the toys first, then the show.
Isn't that weird?
Well, after driving a bit down a forest road, Jack pulled over and undressed Margaret. And even though Margaret had a chance to beg for her life with Barbara when Jack momentarily got out of the car, Barbara just shrugged as if to say, what are you going to do? Like, I can't help you. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, because then you know that I'm next, right?
Yeah. And when Jack returned, he dragged Margaret out of the vehicle into a dark, cold, snow-covered forest and asked Barbara if she wanted to come with him.
If you want to go, we'll take the sled.
I don't think he said it like that.
But Barbara, knowing what was about to happen, said no and stayed in the car. After Barbara opted out of witnessing the murder, Jack grabbed both Margaret's bra and a steel rod from the center console of the car, and he dragged Margaret deeper into the forest out of Barbara's sight. Later autopsy reports stated that Unterweger then mercilessly beat Margaret Schaefer with the steel rod before manually strangling her. But the killing stroke would later become Unterweger's defining signature. He strangled her to death with her own bra.
And he never deviated from it.
Never.
Ever. It's so weird to see a style so distinct. And it happened immediately upon maybe his first murder, because he also began bounding. He bound his potential first victim, right? So he started with the binding,
and also bound her with one of her own articles of clothing. That was his signature. It was killing them with an intimate article of their own clothing.
It's not as fun as when in Home Alone when he's like, we're the wet bandits, get it? And then they made everything wet.
Yes.
It's not as fun as that. That was like you were going to fill up the sink with water.
Yeah, because this is not Daniel Stern.
No.
Daniel Stern, though, would have been good to play him in the movie back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, right? Daniel Stern's too goofy looking. He's too tall,
you shave
too.
his head?
He's too tall. Way too tall. He's tall and lanky.
Tom Cruise.
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood.
Are we just casting now? Now we're just casting this mass murderer?
Well, after the murder, he propped the body against a larch tree, lightly sprinkled the body with leaves and soil, and once again left all the jewelry behind on Margaret Schaefer's otherwise naked body.
He wanted to be pointed about the fact that it was never about robbery. Ever.
Yes. He returned to the car, splattered with blood 15 minutes after he'd left, and tossed the steel rod, slick with blood and hair, over to Barbara. He then mumbled something about how Margaret couldn't betray them anymore, and they simply drove back to town. But unlike the woman in the first murder, Barbara went to the fucking police.
Nice.
Oh, good.
And based on her statements, Jack Unterweger was arrested for the murder of Margaret Schaefer, and he was sentenced to life in prison a year and a half later.
And that's been Last Podcast on the Left. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode.
We're going to be in Grundy County. Second show at it.
Now, to pass the time, Jack...
what's up?
Now, to pass the time, Jack Unterweger began writing various musings about life from his prison cell. And after 3 years, he'd completed a correspondence course in literature and narrative writing.
You could almost say if this didn't turn out to be a massive, one of the longest, deepest cons that anybody would do, you'd say that he blossomed and that he found the thing. He found his thing that he was supposed to be good at in life. And that, what do we talk about with serial killers all the time? It's born out of extreme mediocrity, right? It's made out of people that are losers. They're not good at anything else. And then he finally found his thing. But the opposite was true, was that the thing came to him as he's like, oh, this is how I get back in.
Right.
And he's just like, all I have to do is become a famous author.
And it started to make me think that maybe serial killing doesn't just come from mediocrity. That maybe it's something else entirely, because Jack Unterweger had everything he could ever wanted. He was we'll get to it, but by the time he got out of prison, he was a best-selling author, and he still murdered 10 women.
It's just kind of like knowing that you have to get all the way to the presidency so that all of your crimes can be fully covered.
We'll see what happens. Marcus, by the way, New York Times bestseller. How many people have you killed?
I would say
Since the book. How many people have you killed since the book?
Since the book. That's a different Yeah, since the book.
Since the ego boost of the book. Remember the big ego boost we got last year?
The big ego boost, that thing that I was dependent on for so many years of work.
All the shows and the signings and the tour bus we were supposed to have and all that stuff.
All that stuff, returning to Lubbock in a bus with my own face on it so I could lean out the window and just flip off everybody and say, fuck you, I was right, fuck you, I was right, over and over again.
Well, actually, I am. Let's get the net.
Yeah,
Zero.
let's get the net. Get the net. Get
Zero.
The net.
I've killed none.
Thank you for saying it in front of a microphone.
And of course, we know 2020 and this whole thing has been hard for everyone. So hang on in there.
Thank you for covering.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah, of course. I'm just joking.
Oh, yeah, we're just joking.
That's great.
Well, soon enough, Jack Unterweger was submitting children's stories to the Austrian equivalent of the BBC, known as the ORF, or the ORF. Ultimately, 50 of Jack's stories were broadcast on ORF's children's radio program.
Holy fucking shit.
Oh my God. Honestly.
And here's the story of the magical bra. All she wanted to do was live on the necks of the women she used to live on. The necks of them, and it became Bill Cosby.
It always becomes Bill Cosby.
I wish you were Jimmy Savile. That's my favorite.
But rather than being horrified that a convicted murdering rapist was feeding stories to children, most listeners saw Jack's stories as a celebration of the love he'd never known himself in his childhood.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
There's a middle ground here, people. There's absolutely a middle ground.
There has to be.
That's unbelievable.
One listener, a single mother, was so moved by the stories that she began visiting Jack in prison, and she testified at his parole hearing years later as a character witness, maintaining that Jack was merely a misunderstood man, quote, full of love.
Yeah.
I mean, what was so weird, she came dressed she was a character witness, so she came dressed as Gumby, and she just did not understand what it meant to be a character. It was about his character, and she came dressed as Gumby, so where is my gun? Where is it?
Well, after the children's stories, Jack, like almost every fucking serial killer in existence, moved on to poetry.
It's not because poetry is easy. I think that it's because poetry seems easy.
Yes. This it seems easy. It's not easy. Doing
it's not
it well,
easy, but it seems easy.
Doing it well is there's a difference between me running down the block and Usain Bolt running the 100. You know, there's a big difference.
There's a difference.
It's both running, but one is gangly and weird, and the other is an achievement.
Yeah, one looks like a grown-up greyhound on two legs, just flitting down the street, and one is Usain Bolt.
Oh,
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at that. Cute.
Yeah. Well, this is an example of one poem that imagined death as a lover who would take him in her embrace and free him from his pain. It's called Love Poem to Death.
You come to me again. You don't forget me. Until the end is the agony and the chain breaks. Still you appear strange and distant and our alive death. You stand like a cool star over my distress. But then you will be near and full of flame. Come, lover, I am here. Take me. I am yours.
And just to put that into some clarification here, let's read something from BTK. Oh, Anna, why did you appear? 'Twas the perfect plan of deviant pleasure, so bold on that spring night. My inner feeling hot with propension of the new awakening season. Yada, 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 yada. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? That's Dennis Rader. So I actually totally understand what you're saying. Dennis Rader is you. And he, in this situation, is Usain Bolt, because that is much better than anything BTK wrote.
He genuinely had a touch. Like, he had, like, a poetic touch.
Yeah, he had a talent for writing. And by the way, BTK is the Riddler. That's who the Riddler is.
He is the Riddler.
Yeah.
So much respect for him, actually. I'm surprised.
The Riddler still needs a bullet in the head. Like, I wish Batman
sucks.
could. I hate the Riddler.
Okay, but he is an A-team guy. That's all I'm saying.
He somehow got to the A-team. You know what I mean? The Riddler is just baked in at this point.
Perhaps that's the ultimate riddle of all.
Well, unlike every other serial killer writer outside of Ian Brady, Jack Unterweger didn't stop with poetry. He began writing short stories, plays, and eventually novels, and the literary community ate it up. In 1984, Unterweger's story In Station Zuchthaus won an Austrian literary prize, and he followed that in 1985 with the book that made him famous, Fegefeuer oder Die Reise in Zuchthaus.
You're scaring me.
It's just the language.
In English, that translates to Purgatory or The Trip to Prison.
Why does it have a smiley face at the end of it? I don't know.
This is fun.
Now, Purgatory was published as a novel, but it was a highly autobiographical novel, and everyone took Jack at his word. The book opens with Unterweger narrating a nightmare about being put in handcuffs, but even after the dream ends, he still wakes up in a prison cell.
No.
Prison, however, was not hell in Jack's world. Prison was purgatory, as the title explicitly states, and this decision was actually very clever. Calling it purgatory implied that Jack was not a soul forever condemned for his crimes, but was instead worthy of redemption.
He's just waiting for his time in heaven.
Essentially, he was telling the reader that he would leave prison one day because he deserved to leave prison. And what was absolutely insane was that the vast majority of the Austrian public bought the claim and bought Jack's story.
I could see, well, the government at the time, from what the documentaries were saying, the government at the time was on a mission to rehabilitate people.
Yes.
So he became the perfect poster boy for it because he was good at his job. He was good at being a writer. So they're like, you know, you can't be talented and a vicious murderer.
No
They don't believe that. They don't think that can happen. And it's interesting because so he kind of saw it, he scanned it in his mind and kind of put himself directly in the spotlight.
Interesting.
And after the book became a bestseller, Austria's intellectual elite started a public campaign to release Jack Unterweger from prison. They wrote letters to the Austrian president requesting a pardon for Jack, because obviously someone with this much talent couldn't possibly be a danger to society.
Yeah, Hitler sucked at painting.
Yeah, that's very true.
However, the president refused, not because of the horrific nature of his many crimes, but because Jack had only at this point served 10 years.
He was only in jail for 10 years already.
Wow.
See, in Austria, any prisoner, including those convicted of murder, go up for parole after 15 years, even if they have a life sentence. They undergo a psychiatric evaluation, and if they are deemed to no longer be a threat to society, then they can be released. Now, murderers in Austria rarely get out right at 15 years, but most still don't serve more than 20. With Jack, though, the public push to release him began 5 years before his parole hearing was even held, with his supporters arguing that purgatory was proof that Jack had transformed himself through self-reflection. But what I think this is proof of is that even in a country where sex work is legal, most people still think of sex workers as less dead. Because I highly doubt people would be so forgiving had Jack Unterweger killed a fucking pretty teenage girl from a wealthy family.
Yeah, if it was John Benet Ramsey, he would not have gotten back out.
No, they wouldn't have found him at all.
No. But as far
Because
as
John Benet Ramsey, the killer's never been found.
We remember.
Okay.
But as far as
Fat
supporters
Cat
went,
Society, that's who did it. I want to find out where those guys are.
Yeah.
But as far as supporters went, one of Jack's biggest was radio talk show host Peter Humer. He called purgatory, quote, a real cry. And he said that Unterweger represented the hope that a person can somehow come to grips with their problems through verbalization.
I wish they could. I want them to.
They can. Some people can. Many people can. Most people can. Dangerous psychopathic sexual sadists cannot. They can't just talk. The dangerous psychopathic sexual sadist can't just talk his way out of it.
When I think of like who's the best judge of character, I always say
DJs.
radio DJs.
Yeah, man.
You know the way
We
that they
hold the
always
line.
love like
Bubba the Love Sponge.
Bubba the Love Sponge.
Always
He
holding the
filmed
line.
Hulk Hogan having sex with his wife because why? That's honesty.
Yeah.
And that's transparency. Casey Anthony, she found a DJ of a different kind because they found something in her.
Yeah.
DJs are just the mind's eye of society.
DJs, what did we learn from side stories? DJs' jobs are to observe when people the party flow, right?
Great.
So their job, all they do is observe people, and that's what. So we should trust the DJs. I think we should have a DJ on the Supreme Court.
You guys are talking about three different kinds of personality. You're talking about a disc jockey,
Yep.
which is one thing, which is different from a club DJ, which is different from a radio personality.
Why do you got the same name?
I was actually talking about DJ Tanner from Full House.
Oh, Deej.
Yeah, DJ.
Well, Jack Unterweger, what he was for the intellectual elite of Austria, he was a social experiment for them. And 10 women would die to satisfy their curiosity. But it wasn't just the intellectuals on Jack's side. Purgatory was so popular that a feature film based on the book was produced and released while Jack was still in prison. Although it did, very conveniently, replace Jack's sadistic murder with simple assault.
I couldn't find both films because there was another movie because I know Michael Fassbender was working on a Jack Unterweger movie.
Really?
And I couldn't find that's never came out.
I don't think that was ever made, yeah.
I don't think it was made, and but that would be good. But then there was a movie called Jock that I couldn't find. That didn't come out that long ago. And then there is that movie Purgatory that he was on set for.
No,
He would get to go visit set from jail and give notes on the set that he'd get to go do. But I couldn't find that movie either.
Oh my God! All right.
There were some people, however, who weren't fooled. And the people not buying Jack's line tended to be people who were in direct contact with Jack. See, the woman who had first encouraged Jack to write was named Sonia Eisenstein, and she'd been in contact with Jack since 1974. See, she'd been somewhat intrigued with how a seemingly soft-spoken 5'6" man could be convicted of murder, and she wanted to discover the reasons why.
You don't think 5'6" people can fucking kill people?
No, I do think that they can kill people. I think that's what we've learned over the years. There's literally an entire complex named after it.
Very accomplished general that complex is named after.
But as she got to know Jack better, she noticed that he had an almost supernatural ability to win advocates to his side, and he was able to gain privileges and influence in prison with ease. There was something about Jack that made just the fucking hairs on her neck stand on end.
See, what I have the ability to do is walk on all fours with my ass so high up in the air that they just start giving me food and candy. And it is fantastic.
I love it when the sticky horse is in jail. Do you remember Sticky Horse?
Yes, that's my sticky horse.
That's your sticky horse. That's you.
I know.
But you know what I would say? Can I drop a little bit of Satanism in here? But it's not going to apply to everybody. But there is when you read The Satanic Witch by Anton LaVey, it is aged poorly. But he talks about, it's a way of what he called personal enchantment. So what he does is this personality clock, right? Which is this idea that there are three aspects of the human personality. It's what you look at when you see them, right? And then their inner demonic personality, which is the exact opposite of what they look like. And then their inner personality. So to break it down, I'm an endomorphic quote unquote party animal, like it's on a clock, right? Let's say I'm at a 3 o'clock on the clock, right? I'm an endomorphic party animal who's like a fun, ruddy dude when you see and you look at me. But on the opposite side of the clock is someone that is a cold or a analytical, someone that is more subdued in their emotions. And the real you is the third you, which is exactly as you appear, right? You actually are a fun-loving person on the inside. But the way to get people to gain their trust is that you show an opposite sliver of your personality to someone, and it feels like they trust that. It feels like there is a trust bond, like a secret has been shared. Like, oh, I'm this crazy guy, but really, I love Townes Van Zandt. Like that kind of shit where you say a thing where he naturally did that, where Jack Unterweger put on this one personality, but then would switch this. But I grew up in a prostitute's hut. Like, and it brings people in immediately.
Well, those are the barbs on the hook.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, concerning Sonia Eisenstein, when she actually researched the details of the murder that had put Jack behind bars, she was fucking horrified.
Yeah.
And she cut off all contact. But years later, when Jack was released from prison and became a celebrity, Sonia actually tried sounding the alarm. She wrote a very succinct, well-written letter to the local paper saying this: Jack Unterweger is a shark in the Austrian cultural scene. His madness is like the AIDS virus, an agent of destruction that threatens all of society. No one is safe from him.
Jeez, that's scary.
That's a harsh 1-star review on iTunes.
But have you read his poetry?
I mean, that's what people did. That's what they said in response.
Yeah, dude, since public opinion was on Jack's side, the editor didn't publish the letter. And his popular support continued well into his trial for 10 murders across 3 countries. Now, concerning how Jack got released for the savage murder of Margaret Schaefer, it really didn't take that much effort once it got time for the parole hearing. Many politicians and church leaders were all for Jack's release, and the local governor actually said this:
We will never find a prisoner so well prepared for freedom.
Well, you will find him once again after he kills 10 people.
No. I've never found someone. He just wants it, you know. Most people, they think they want freedom, but they don't. He does. He wants it. It wasn't anybody else.
Okay.
And so, on April 27th, 1990, a court-appointed psychiatrist gave Jack a favorable prognosis. And less than a month later, Jack Unterweger was back on the streets of Vienna as a best-selling author and celebrity.
To me,
Oh my God.
this is the true power of psychopathy, whatever he'd have. He went deep undercover into his own personality for 15 years. This was always the plan. He knew that he was working his way towards getting out. When he saw it, you could imagine the inner
not for 15
glee.
years. I would say he figured it out about 5 years in.
Sure, but I mean, when he entered into the character of Jack Unterweger,
Once he figured
celebrity
that out.
author,
Yeah.
he didn't let it go to anybody. This is there's something about it, like that idea of the double life and holding up this fucking, because now the inner life, whatever the fuck it is, that's this fucking animal that's inside of you, is very hungry. And you have this thin sheet that no one else understands is gone in a second. Like, it's a tissue thin front, and no one knows that. But he's been holding the line, to keep bringing that term up. He's been holding this shit down for fucking at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And now he's coming out and just being like, so he imagine at some point he must think he's fucking invincible.
I mean, you just described Pennywise the clown.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, I didn't eat kids for 50 years. No one gives me credit for not eating kids. And I come back and I eat kids every 50 years, and now I'm a bad guy.
Well, within weeks, if not days after his release from prison, Jack Unterweger was pontificating on the redemptive power of writing on Austrian talk shows and drawing applause for the contrition he showed for strangling a woman in the forest with her own bra. To commemorate his first week out of prison, Unterweger bought an expensive Mercedes that had a vanity plate reading, W. Jack 1.
Wow.
Oh my God. And now it's another level of douchebag.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, now we're getting to like nacho fries where they put the liquid cheese on top.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And he dressed in the finest clothing bad taste could buy. According to accounts, Jack Unterweger, fashion-wise, was stuck in the disco era. This is 1990, and he's strutting around town in snow-white silk suits with red roses on the lapels. He looked like a fucking mid-70s pimp.
Big sunglasses.
Great.
Oh yeah, he fucking a lot of jewelry, a lot of like the fancy cars, hanging out with models. He jumped straight into like rock star lifestyle. Like, he was like ready to go, which I can honestly imagine 10, 15 years of prison, even a fucking like European prison, it's got to suck. But now you're coming out of this thing, and he just was like, boom, I'm a fucking superstar.
I would say it doesn't seem like prison was that bad for him, because he always had that extension to the outside world. But I do have to say, this is the point of the show where I will defend portions of this person's character. I kind of like the disco look. It's fun.
It is fun.
What's wrong with fun?
always
It's
comes
a
back-
big lapel. I love the big jackets. I like that. There's nothing wrong with a good disco look.
The disco look comes back every 10 years.
It does.
And, you know, for some people, the power of celebrity trumps all. And Jack had no problem seducing woman after woman after woman. But some did get a little scared off when they got Jack home and found that his body was covered in these fucking diabolical prison tattoos.
He loved it, but also, again, one of those like serial killer true crime nerd things that I love is the accidental psychological positioning of exteriors and interiors. Like, you know, we talk about Ed Gein's house, that kind of thing, but like on his body, like he covered it up completely when he was dressed outside, like in those big suits, fancy suits, all that kind of shit. And there was something about how you didn't see the prison tattoos until it was like essentially like too late. You're already nude with the guy.
Plenty of women ran and said, I gotta go.
I'm certain. But he, you know, he's the TV man.
What does this
The TV man on the TV gets a lot. You don't understand just how easily the human animal is hypnotized by images that are in the media. Like the TV man buys you trust. Like seeing him all the time, seeing his face, seeing people you like talk to his face, and then you think that guy must be cool because how could he be on all the TV shows I like if he wasn't a fixed person?
I mean, that's what I think about Dennis Franz from NYPD Blue.
What are you talking about? He normalized our bodies.
I know what he did for your people.
He allowed us to be sex objects.
You just imagine looking at John's body, just being like, "Ooh, what's that tattoo?" And he's like, "That's when we played Sticky Horsey. That's me dressed as the Sticky Horsey. That's Bruno behind me. He's gonna be Sticky."
Now, of course, people started digging into the murder Jack had committed more out of curiosity than anything else. But Jack, like any good psychopath, he already had an excuse locked and loaded. He'd had 15 years to think about it. When asked about the murder of Margaret Schaefer, Jack would first give a preamble about being abandoned by his mother to an alcoholic grandfather, which shored up sympathy for the crime to come. Then he'd give a sob story about being in the throes of drug and alcohol abuse by 1974, which framed the murder as a sort of rock bottom story, something he could recover from. And finally, Unterweger found a way to blame the murder on both the victim and his own mother. He said that there was just something about Margaret Schaefer that irritated him, and he finally figured out that it was because she looked and sounded like his mother. And it was for this reason that he beat Margaret Schaefer with a steel rod and strangled her to death.
And that worked for people to just be like, yeah, I hate my mom too. Yeah, that makes
People
sense. Hashtag moms.
Bought it every time. Then, as a kicker,
God.
once when a reporter named Margit Haas heard this story and unflinchingly asked how Jack felt about his mother now, he said this.
I'm on pretty good terms with her. Yeah, she lives in Munich and I visit her from time to time. It's great.
But you just said that the person that you killed reminded you of your mother and you hated your mother.
And I hated her then. But
now you like her?
We watched The Office.
You do?
Oh my God, when he spilled the chili.
Yeah.
Have you seen that scene when he spills the chili?
I did see that scene,
Oh,
sir.
my mother and I laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and we just hang out all the time. We went shopping the other day.
Yeah, what do you think when you see Pam?
I'm a Maxinista with my mother. It's so much fun. We were like, oh, we're just having fun.
Okay.
Now, Jack's creative output never slowed down after he left prison. He wrote further novels and began producing plays like one called Dungeon, which flopped critically and commercially. And he wrote and produced a play about AIDS called Scream of Fear.
Jeez. Whoa. That's about right.
But again, those who had worked closest with Jack weren't sold. The director of the film adaptation of Purgatory said that Jack doesn't like literature and Jack doesn't like writers. Jack, he said, doesn't like anything. Jack only likes Jack.
And this coming from a director of a movie.
They are the meanest people on earth.
And sure enough, just 4 months after being released from prison, Jack began killing once more, and he wouldn't stop until 10 more women were dead. And that's where we'll pick back up next week for part 2 of Jack Unterweger, where we'll cover the majority of his murders and his time in the infamous Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles.
Oh my God. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. This is fascinating. You're right, Mr. Marcus Parks. He is one of the more accomplished maniacs that we've ever covered. I can't think of anyone, as a matter of fact, that could do any of the things that he was able to do while doing something that he did, which is mass murder.
He had a fucking literary career that was his throwaway persona. Like, think about that kind of, that's why he is so fascinating to me, because like it started our conversation about Ted Bundy, because in my mind, his political career got cut short. But I think Ted Bundy had a plan at one point where he's like, if I enter into politics, I really do think that Ted Bundy could have been our first congressman serial killer. It was just a couple of wrong turns that he took but if he had stayed on track, it's that same kind of skill set where they were just trying to, all of this shit was just an excuse to get them to a point where no one would question their actions anymore.
Yeah, we've only had Gary Condit. He murdered somebody supposedly. And then Ted Kennedy, he was a senator who murdered somebody.
Matthew Broderick.
No, he's not in Congress. He's not in Congress. And that was an accident. And you need to stop doing what you're doing with Matthew Broderick. I love him. But we haven't had any serial killers.
Not yet. So. Not that we've discovered.
Not yet. Not yet. There's always time.
There's definitely.
There's certainly some that are responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths.
That's different. That's government.
It's different. Yeah, that's much different. But the thing about Jack Unterweger is that he's actually going to take it even further when he goes to Los Angeles. When it comes to making the game just that much harder and to seeing how much he can truly play society, he fucking turns it up.
All right, he's a real Triple H. Time to play the game. A little reference for my wrestling fans out there.
Thank you.
Thank you all, by the way, for supporting every show that we have here on the LPN Network. Thank you for listening to this episode. We got a couple of things. One more of this guy, right? One more of this guy.
And let's do a little bit of an announcement. We've got coming this Monday, March 15th, Dunecast with me and Holden McNeely is coming out on the tubes. And just again, to prepare you, it's going to come out on the last podcast on the left stream as well. It's coming on our feed. It's also on its own feed. So just know that's coming for you. And then this Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day. Someplace Underneath with Natalie Jean and Amber Nelson is also going to debut. Very excited for you guys to see this new show. We've been working real hard on all of this shit, and I hope that you guys like it.
Absolutely.
We still got some tickets for our show in Grundy County.
Grundy County.
On Friday. What's the place called?
I think it's just called the place in
Caverns? I think
Grundy
it's called
County.
The Caverns of Grundy
the
County.
only place in Grundy County where concerts are held. Yeah.
Yeah, wherever it says we are, that's where we're going to be.
Again,
So
going to be
find that.
outside, big cordoned off areas, so we'll all look real small.
And of course,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing you got to do is bring your gun for half off tickets. That's a joke? Okay.
And don't forget the season
Yes.
1.1 of No Dogs in Space is premiering on March 25th. It's season 1.1. It's not necessarily a bridge into the entire next season, but it is, it's a band that we really love, and it's really cool. It's going to be fun. We already recorded episode 1, so we're ahead of schedule.
All right.
That's fucking sweet.
Toad the Wet Sprocket it is. What a story you have to tell.
Can't wait for Alice in Chains.
Honestly, I
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
have-
Well, that'll be right after our Better Than Ezra series, our 5-part series on Better Than Ezra.
What about Ezra?
Exactly.
That's the David Letterman.
No, but what about Ezra? And I want to personally shout out to Edward Larson from Brighter Side. I had a chance to interview Bobby Lashley, a WWE champion, because Eddie's friend is friends with him. So thank you, Mr. Larson, for hooking that up. And if you haven't listened to that episode, check that out on Kind of Fun and Top Hat and all the other shows. You know what to do. Anything else, boys?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Not a
Nothing.
goddamn thing.
Not a fucking thing.
All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for listening. Hail yourselves!
Hail Satan!
Again.
Magustalations, don't trust writers.
Don't trust a writer except if it's Marcus.
Yeah, we're fine. Most of us.
Hail Geen. Hail Geen, Marcus.
I said it already.
Okay. All right.
Isn't it enough? Haven't we done enough?
I don't know. Okay,
What
fine.
did I say?
Jeez.
I've said it 430 something fucking times. I'll say it again.
It's like 500.
Well, how many times I've said it though?
He's getting writer's rage.
This show is made possible by listeners like you. Thanks to our ad sponsors, you can support our shows by supporting them. For more shows like the one you just listened to, go to lastpodcastnetwork.com.